Sisaundra Show. Y'all, we just spoke with the lovely JoJo Alonso about her experience as a Black woman in the radio industry. Because sometimes, most of the time, it is hard and it makes us angry. Now, my next guest knows a thing or two about dealing with negative emotions and understanding when we are angry. She was a teen mother at 15, a survivor of sexual molestation, and homeless. And now she has a PhD. She's an author and host of a Sip of Inspiration podcast. Her story, yes, listen, but there is more. Her story is one from rags to riches with a lot in between. She is an example that success is possible no matter the circumstances. Y'all, please welcome author, speaker, and empowerment doctor, Dr. Stephanie Wilson-Coleman. Come on.
Thank you very much.
You are so welcome. Thank you so much for joining me. It is an honor to have you next to me. My God, we have a lot to unpack. You have a beautiful testimony, Dr. Wilson. Would you mind sharing your experience with being a teen mother and a survivor of sexual molestation?
So one funny thing about being a teen mother is once I told people I was pregnant, all of my friends disappeared. And I remember asking my mother, I didn't know that's how you got pregnant.
What? Like, oh my gosh.
Right? I had my son at 15, finished high school on time. He actually graduated from Jackson State University.
Come on now. Come on.
So it can be done.
Yes.
So, but that
It has been done.
It has been done.
Yes.
I've proven it can be done.
Yes.
So it kept me, though, from living some of my dreams at that time. I wanted to go to an Ivy League college. I couldn't. I had no babysitters, so
Correct.
When I went to the local college, I would get up, get my son up. We would get up early. I'd get him to school, get me to school, get me to work, go back and get him from school, and we would do homework together. He used to joke that when one of the comedians said, "Mom, what are you talking about? You and I both were at the kitchen table doing homework." That was us.
Oh, I love that. That's so amazing. That's so amazing. So can you tell us what is an empowerment doctor?
So what I do is I work with people who have experienced traumatic experiences. So I'm not the one to come to if it's just an ordinary everyday. And I deal with people in crises. So people who have been sexually molested. So, and all of the emotions that are left behind from there. That's a whole nother thing that people can't understand. And when I started that work, I was really surprised that the majority of my clients are men.
Really?
I expected them to all be women, but the majority of my clients have been men. And the sexual molestation part tends to follow you throughout the remainder of your life because you're in a situation where you were powerless. However, you're looking at the experience from an adult, 21, 22, 30, where you think that that time you could have done something. But there's nothing you could have done at 6, 8, 10, 12, 15 when you were being molested by an adult. So I go through those experiences. We talk about those. I have techniques I use in order for them to get to peace with that and to actually be able to make a place for that in their life where it's not running their life. It's just something that they experienced.
Wow, that's powerful. And I'm sure to be able to put that in its place helps them to move forward and deal with life on a different level, on a better level.
But one thing you learn is that there's nothing you can't do.
Come on.
Because you've already experienced the work.
Correct.
When you've been homeless, a teenage mom, and sexually molested, nobody can tell me what I can't do.
Wow.
Okay.
All we can do is clap to that.
That's
Amen to that. Amen to that. You mentioned that your story is full of conflict, is full of villains and roadblocks. Can you elaborate on that? What does that mean?
So we got to a point to where the roadblock started. I'm a teen mother, okay? I'm an African-American woman, okay? And that's always first. So it was always, well, she can't do this job because she has to do all of this other stuff. Never mind that I always maintained great grades. So I was working jobs and employers would find odd reasons to let me go. And there would be nothing you could do about it in the South because the South doesn't support African-American women like that.
Correct.
So I got married, like I thought that was going to be the answer. And
let's just keep it real. She ain't got no filter, y'all.
That's right. Got no filter, right? No filter.
I love it.
So ended up divorced, and and we had 2 incomes, right? So I says, oh, no problem. He left. I'll go to the bank and just split the money. Yeah, he took everything but $5.26.
Oh,
so then he began
God.
to use my identity and racked up about $60,000 worth of debt. So as a result of all of that, because I was a financial person and a medical center, I was let go for that. So then I didn't have a place to stay. Luckily, by then, my son was in Jackson State, and I made sure he stayed there. So I didn't have a place to stay. I was homeless, and I ended up literally getting another job in D.C. that promised some temporary housing. I get there. A week later, they can't afford me, and I don't have another place to stay. So then my aunt in Chicago said, if you come to Chicago, you can stay with me. Now, the story behind that, I know that sounds terrible, but you know, it gets better. So the story behind that is...
But you lived through this,
I lived
so
through
thank
this,
you for sharing the truth. Yes.
So some years before, I was visiting Chicago, and I was on the beach, and I'm a very spiritual person. So I heard the voice of God say, you need to move to Chicago. I lived in Florida. I said, God, I'm not going to Chicago. It's cold. Okay?
That sounds like a real answer.
Right. That's what I said, okay? Well, fast forward, I ended up in Chicago, right? So the first lesson I learned is when God tells you to do something, you need to do it. Don't be me. Don't need to cause me 2x4, okay?
Yes,
Right.
yes.
So I get to Chicago, then I say, okay, God, I'm here, but everything is far, and I'm not driving all over town like they do to work. I'm not driving and taking those trains. I don't do that, okay? So I turned down jobs. And then one day coming in from the beach, my aunt lived near the beach, right? Hey,
She's living the life.
I'm living the
She
life
went from
now,
homeless
right?
to living
The
on the
life,
jet, right? I get it. Yes.
Right off Lake Michigan, right? That's
Oh
what
my
I
goodness,
saw out
stunning.
my window. And then this guy called and said, I want to offer you a job. And I said, I told you it was too far. And he says, no, I'm working for somebody else. And I remembered you from when I interviewed you before. And it's just 20 minutes from where you live. Now, I told God I'd take a job 20 minutes from where I live. Okay? And I went in. I says, well, do I need to interview or something? What's the salary? He says, well, how much do you want to make?
What?
Yes.
Come on now.
Yes.
Won't he do it?
Okay.
Is the phrase.
Right.
Come on.
And I gave him my top of my salary. Had I known the answer was going to be yes, it'd have been bigger.
More.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
You are too much.
So, and from then on, I promised God, I said, if you get me through this and make me whole, I promise you that I will help anybody I can and everybody I can. I promise you that you will not have to have a conversation with me about tithing no more, okay?
Come on.
Okay? And he did, and I started those things. So I started as a financial analyst, then got promoted to a controller.
Wow.
Then that company moved to Seattle, and I said, God, I ain't going.
Stop it, she ain't going to Seattle. So listen, since you telling God all the things you ain't gonna do, and he's showing up and giving you the things that he wants you to have, which are the true desires of your heart, you have coined a phrase. You coined this phrase called dance with your anger.
Right.
Break it down.
Right. So in dancing with your anger, people think anger is a terrible thing, okay? But I have discovered that you don't do anything until you get mad.
It motivates you.
Right. You make no changes until you become angry. So when you are angry, sit down with that anger, with a pencil and paper now, and write down why you are angry. And then ask this one question, is it true?
Oh.
Okay? Because often we get angry because things aren't true. And one example is if somebody came up to you and said, oh, I don't like him, he's got polka dotted hair, but you don't have polka dotted hair, you just walk away for that. But those things that you respond to, there is some truth in that. So sit down and find out what the truth is. Because often it's not as big or as violent as we think it is.
Correct.
Yeah. Just write it down.
We kind of embellish
Yeah,
things.
we kind of embellish. I'm real
Extrapolate.
good.
Yes.
That thing comes out with gold and
That
diamonds
word
when
right
I'm
there.
finished. Right. And then you do that, and then you fix and correct what you can.
Yes.
There is no need to fix all 100 things on your list, okay? You do one thing Increments. And you do two things, and you will find out that some of those things on that list will begin to take care of themselves. You just have to commit to fixing a few of them. One or two.
Just be consistent.
Right. Just be consistent on fixing those few things.
That's powerful.
Yeah.
You know, at the end of the show, I love to ask some of our guests to share a quote with us. Would you please share one of your quotes that you've used in your book? I think you have a really strong one by Frederick Douglass.
Yes. It is easier to build a child than it is to it's easier to build a child. I have to get the book.
Than it is to fix a
broken adult. Right.
My gosh.
Right.
Y'all come on. So let's fix these children. Self-esteem is everything. Thank you for joining me again, Doctor. It's been a wonderful time sitting here talking to you.